Hello ladies and gentlemen, Dave Dobbs here. It's the 2nd of December 2021. It's one day before the new moon. And so it's a day before major earthquakes, major volcanoes. I mean, you're seeing La Palma going off and you're going to see a massive increase in volcanoes and earthquakes. And this object that I've been charting that's coming towards us directly from the sun now, or seemingly to come, well, that is where it's coming from, directly from the sun direction towards us at the moment, and it still hasn't crossed the ecliptic plane of our solar system, and it's just about to, and hopefully it will cross before it reaches us, but it's very close. We're just seeing some pretty big earthquakes in Ecuador, Peru and Colombia. 7.5. We're getting all the indications that this is about to cross the ecliptic plane, and when it does, the whole Earth is gonna pull the South Pole slightly towards it. North is going to plunge into rapid cold, and the south of the globe is going to start getting rapidly way more hot. And that shift with such a close proximity to this object could put unusual pressures on the whole Pacific basin. The whole globe could experience a subtle stretching. Sorry about this, I've got this new little puppy, Shanti, that is, what you got? Shh. Come here. Come on, little rascal. What are you doing? What are you doing? She's exploring anyway. I don't know what she's up to, but sorry about that noise and rustling in the back. Come on, sweetheart, come and lie down. Come on and lie down. Come and lie down. Come and lie down. Come on. Come here. Sorry about this. You have these problems with puppies. She does kind of bring me down to earth a little bit, you know, and it's that's quite a good, healthy sort of sign. Omicron. You know, what are we going to call this incoming planet? You know, think about the effects of something that's coming in. Think about what's happening with these volcanoes that are going off and are about to really go off over this period. You know, you were seeing the magma going up into the sky. When you see magma going up, it just shoots up. And instead of going out like you're seeing in La Palma, it gets oxidized by all the oxygen in the air, which turns so much of that matter into carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide. You know, if it's burnt really clean, super clean, it's producing much more carbon dioxide. But you know, the whole process of that, of the way in which magma just turns into gas. Solid magma or liquid magma turns into a gas and becomes carbon dioxide, massive volumes of carbon dioxide thrown into the air. And what's the matter, sweetheart? What's the matter? Hopefully she's going to lie down. It's me talking that gets her excited. I've got to calm down. So it gets turned into gas, and that process, can you imagine the amount of oxygen in the air that gets reduced by that? Can you imagine that something that's got an iron in the tail, and that's what this thing seems to have. When this thing flies by, it also comes down and brings this, and we say iron, but we call it iron oxide because iron can't get through the atmosphere without attaching itself to oxygen. You know, it's just they attract. You know, oxygen just zaps to it. That's why the body uses iron to transport oxygen in the blood, and that's why the blood goes red. And as soon as this iron comes through our atmosphere, it gets oxidized by the ozone, and then it comes through and it sucks up. You know, when iron goes into water, it sucks up all the oxygen, especially if it's in tiny particles. It sucks up the oxygen and it suffocates a lot of the life if it's in the vicinity of that, because it will absorb all the oxygen. And so it lowers, you know, and when you look at my big model, for going from 262 to now, and seeing how in 262 we had 3 days of darkness recorded, and we had earthquakes all across Africa, all across Asia, all across Europe, and it was the downfall of the Roman Empire, you know, and that what caused the famines, and then what caused the disease. You know, the disease we could see could have as much been caused by, not only was there a much less crops because of all the type of situations we're seeing now with such a massive flyby, crazy storms washing away all the topsoil and everything else like that, but we're also seeing kind of like viruses. Now, this could be a rapid melt in the kind of like in the South Pole, except that there isn't actually a massive melt in the South. Well, there is on the side. You know, most of Antarctica is getting covered with ice, apart from the side where there's all these new volcanoes on the Pacific Basin side again. So we've got the whole Pacific Basin getting very hot at the moment with all these volcanoes sending all this moisture, and you can imagine this. You know, before we even get to the flyby here, this close proximity to this kind of alignment of the sun, the earth and the moon and this incoming object is going to be seismic and volcanic. Extremely, it already is. And because of La Palma, we can still see, like I say, this object's still in the northern hemisphere. And and so you could call this Omicron, except that really Omicron on an NASA astronomical level, really, in my opinion, is the big object. This object really orbits that we're going past, and just past now, and it's just coming into view, literally as those shots of it came into view. The big red planet that was started all this volcanic activity in kind of like in 2011, 2012. Is Omicron, and Omicron's presence is something that lowers our oxygen levels, so we destroy crops, so we become weak as a result of our crop failure, and then we possibly release viruses because of melt that have not been released for eons. But we lower the oxygen count, which lowers our overall immunity, because we become slightly unhealthier because we are not getting enough air. And so we become more susceptible to viruses and everything else like that. And imagine if you knew that humanity was going to suffer an epidemic or a pandemic simply because of a lowered state of overall oxygen in the air. And it was going to, over a prolonged period of months, could cause a whole host of different situations, simply because people are, without realising, suffocating, not getting enough, going into a state of delirious shock with the news of everything. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly what's happening because of all the pandemic news of this Omicron. I just think it's a funny coincidence, you know, that when you charter all these different flybys, you seem to see these famines and plagues. And like I say, the last time we were this close to this object was in 262. This has an 1800-year cycle, and the last time before that would have been 3,600 years from now. Before 3,600 years, 2 times 1800-year cycles. And you know, I've explored a lot of that, and I've explored so much of it, and so many of you, I think you understand my model. And you know, this is all about, as I've always told you, it's all about human belief. You know, when I wrote Laughing Gas, it was to tell you, I didn't understand about Planet X, obviously. I was just kind of like, I was just I was just told that we approach a wall, and nothing gets past this wall. It's a war, and it's the same wall that all the greats are terrified of. You know, it's you know, everyone's, all the big troop build-ups and everything else like that. It's all about after the flybys. But these flybys, this is just the warning shot. This big flyby that comes in now, this is, even though this is a big flyby and it can potentially kind of cause an eclipse and that sort of stuff, I'm of a mind this is not the biggest one. This biggest one is going to happen in, well, seemingly August, September. But you know, it's still so difficult. But you know, we've charted that object and we've seen the effects of it already. And I don't think that those of you who follow my timeline and follow the kind of astronomical wonders that come with chartering this thing, you know, it's just beyond belief. You know, when I said don't leave Europe, people couldn't see the tie between this and everything that's happening now and us leaving Europe. What it is to join these free trade deals where you are utterly carved up, you surrender your all, everything is up for grabs. And we're being fed into those now, and everything is up for grabs. And it's a fine line between giving up and surrendering. And being and not being invaded, so to speak. It's, you know, if we give into this, if we give ourselves over to this willingly, then this thing is not at war with us. But if we stand up against this and we don't want this, what's unfolding right now, then we have a stand to take. Then something is at war with you. And if something is at war with you, then it will go under the wheels of this. And I didn't understand. When I wrote Laughing Gas, the message I was given, I went out there and realised I'd been kind of summoned out there to go on this mad adventure, to kind of like retrieve this book. And I was shown this world. I'd always wondered what it was and where it was because of my parents' channelings. You know, they channel White Cloud and another being called John, because he was a monk. Near one of his incarnations was being a monk. Near where I was brought up in Sussex, and so he'd go by the name John, but and White Cloud and Sister Anna and all these kind of, I don't know if you want to call them ascended masters or part of the, you know, that it's really, you know, it makes people's blood boil when you hear them sometimes, and I get it as well. I was challenged with it so much, and yet all my whole story was connecting with that. You know, I was asked if I wanted to see that, and I had to go for a whole death experience to see that other world. That, you know, I guess to see that other world, unless they go through this door. That's the only door. So I did it via an ayahuasca experience where I went through a whole death experience and and saw the other side, where we're all feeding into, and all our realms that are here. You know, that's the whole thing about what's happening now, is that this isn't the end of the world here. This isn't going to destroy this earth, but it's a cleansing for this earth. But it does destroy an aspect of this earth when it passes, and that aspect it destroys is the same thing that happened on Mars on the 14th of October 2016. Is the same thing that will happen to Earth when this thing goes past, when you get the big plasma bolt. And when the big plasma bolt occurs, it destroys the psychic realms of this planet. They're just deleted. They're literally deleted. You know, they have to be emptied. They have to be emptied. And the way they're emptied is all your best is transferred to a higher place. That's what's offered to you through your experience here by the Creator. That is what you would call heaven, the higher realm that you go to. Now, not everyone goes to heaven when they leave this earth. It's not that they're evil or anything else like that. A lot of people aren't ready for heaven. A lot of people pass over and they go through a bit of a kind of like a period where they go to the other side, where they're not a physical being anymore, but they're part of the source, but they have an identity, but they're just in a bubble of love and just cocooning, believe it or not. I know it sounds difficult. I only understand aspects, little aspects. But the earth realms, the astral realms that are connected to earth are your collective realms that are there for you to reside in, of what you've created in the beauty and what you're building on, and all of those realms eventually merge into a higher realm where you can only have access because you are entering into everyone else's higher aspects that are connected to that. Your access into that is only a peaceful declaration. You've contributed to the architecture of that as much as everyone else, but some other people's creations are going to be more beautiful than yours, or you're going to feel that they are. And yet they offer those creations to that, under the same condition that you enter. And you're going to want to come back to this earth after. And you're going to want to embellish your existing creations and build on them. And you're going to be in awe of some of the architecture that surrounds you in this new space that is open. And that's what I was shown, this new space, and I was told that I want you to invite them in and I want you to give them the rule. You know, and that we approach the wall here, that nothing of war gets past this. And this thing does not care for your religious background. It does not care if you're religious or not at all. It requires only one thing to enter, that you are of peace. That's all it asks of you. That is your, in this world is do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. And it is the whole of the law. Do as thou wilt is the whole of the law. Take of it what you will, but pay your karmic dues. There's a karmic attachment to this realm, the law of cause and effect. This other realm that all of your lives have been feeding into does not work in that same fashion. It works it's a consensual understanding. And so that's what is happening here. And this is great fear, because psychic realms can be invaded. Psychic realms connected to a human being can be invaded. And this is a big part of the agenda that has attacked Earth. And I was told that your Earth will no longer support duality. And I didn't understand throughout this whole process that has meant different things to me as I have gone down this breadcrumb trail, with so much help from so many that would be challenged with so much of my message in this as well, and yet have helped me. You know, we've all helped each other. We're all looking at this picture in different ways. Some of us have such fantastic perspectives on this. We are all driven by little nuggets, and around those little nuggets we throw our various bits of evidence to make sense of the bigger picture that we're all seeing. And some of us are attached to certain stories that are our access point to a lot of other people. And those stories make it difficult for other people to access another story. Like, say, for example, many of the flat Earth community are the ones that talk about Tartaria. Now, in my opinion, you know, I look at the whole. I believe in planets, and I show astronomical models around planets, and yet I can see so many aspects of the flat Earth that come into flat Earth theories. Certainly, with kind of like Apple Bird and the stories of, you know, the incredible stories of Operation High Jump, and his incredible journey, and this idea is that possibly the Earth could actually be not so much flat Earth, but a much bigger planet, and continents beyond Antarctica being much bigger than we comprehended, and much greater intelligence out there, and so on and so forth with, and also that we could have a lot more activity up there in the outer, beyond our atmosphere. That, you know, you understand that every image you've seen of any planet beyond Mars, where a satellite has gone out there, has charged through the asteroid belt without consequence. All of those images, everything from Galileo, New Horizons, Juno, you name it, all of those satellites that have all gone out and given you all the imagery that NASA supposedly offers you, have all supposedly charged all straight through, gone straight past Mars, without even, and not one of them has ever used Mars as a slingshot or to gravity assist around. None of them, not one of them. And all of them, supposedly, to offer you all the shots, have all charged straight through the centre of the asteroid belt to get out to Jupiter or beyond. Every one of them. Every one of those, I tell you. Yes, it's real footage, but none of them went out past Mars. None of them did a slingshot past Mars, because that's not where they went. They were either going to Venus to go above or below the ecliptic plane, and that's been their transport system to get them up or down. That's why they all went to Venus, not Mars, to do their slingshots and accelerate it around. You would have thought a much more logical solution to that would have been to use, well, possibly Venus, but it would have been very close to the sun. It would have given you all sorts of complexities to be so close to the sun. You know, it just, why would you go to Venus? Why would you go the opposite way? And all of them go to Venus first. So you know that everything you've been offered about Jupiter, about Saturn, about Pluto, Eris, Neptune, none of it's where you think it is. You're in a massive deception, and a massive object is coming in. And all of us are a duality at the moment. And at the end of this, none of us will be a duality. And this is a claim of you have to be one or the other. And to be the other is very You know, as George Bush says, you're either with us or against us. You know, you're just like, this is invasion of the body snatchers. This, what you're in, is what a Martian invasion looks like. As was identified with kind of like H.G. Wells, is that they wouldn't come from outer space. They wouldn't come from outer space because they wouldn't have the immunity to live on this planet. They would have to come. If there was an invasion of this planet, you'd have to come and take the existing species from the existing soul group. And this is what an invasion looks like. And except it is not an invasion at the moment, because we've all signed agreements and all these countries have agreed to walk away from their sovereignty one way or another, sleepwalked into these decisions. But not everyone. But do they have the right to enter your body? Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because if they start doing this, you see, you're inviting, you know, one country might give another country permission to do something, but if they do that, they do so also at the risk of what the consequences. So you might invite someone like Spain, for example, invite it into this idea that they can and have God's blessing behind them to invade Britain, and they somehow believe that they can do heinous crimes because they've been told that they have the legal right to do that. And they go and do the most heinous thing. Not only do they have to carry the price of that, of feeling that, of becoming part of that, and also leaving something else completely. And the anger and the frustration and the feelings of that, as you let that in and you let go of something. But as you go through whatever this journey is, just know this: your soul, your highest soul. Now, this is a win-win-win situation, or at least it can be. It has the potential to be, even though as horrible as it is. You understand, I cried out, don't leave Europe, don't leave Europe. You leave Europe, you are chopped up, you have signed yourself away, you have absolutely, utterly annihilated yourself because of what you bring about, because of what unfolds. The karmic consequences of that can't be reversed, because what it threatens to do to the whole world, you can see. You can see by what's happening now what has to happen. What has to happen now? You know, so many of you called out for it, blame Europe for all the horrible things around the world, as if Europe had done it all. You used Tony Blair as a means to get this through. Vital for the war on terror, you stay in Europe. You're like, I want nothing to do with that, Europe. Puppets on a string just to use and manipulate us in every which way. They drive us all ways. Trump claiming the vaccines were his idea now, openly claiming the vaccines were his idea. What's in these vaccines? What's happening to humanity now? You know, you think it's so balmy. We think it's so balmy. We see the whole thing playing out here. This idea that the astral realms of this earth could be shut down. Not shut down, but it's just, you know, it's all of that has all been transferred to a higher place. It's just whether or not you want to be part of that higher place. This earth begins anew. in this refurbishing of what will be a completely empty astral realm. It's not the end of the world, but it is the migration of a world. That's all that's happening, and you are invited to migrate with that. And this story will blind you from so much of that in what's happening. But the truth is, this world is overpopulated right now. And the whole thing is a little bit kind of tipsy-topsy or topsy-tipsy or whatever you want to call it. It's going to go through a big change right now. It needs to go through a big change. There needs to be a whole new value system that's come in that brings back real value back to the table in everything, in our money, in the systems we use, in the way in which we do commerce, in a global understanding that enables real decency, not just, we are in a bullshit story at the moment. And there's a lot of things that have got to unfold now that are going to play out with this flyby. And all I can tell you is that anything of war in any way will go under the wheels of this. That's just the way this is. In reality, the big blue planet is heaven. It's a real place. It's a real thing. It operates in a different way to Earth, but it is a real world nonetheless. And these twin tail objects, they flank it. And when it comes in to collect those that are willing to move from Earth, the souls that are finally willing to move from Earth to a higher realm, we come close enough for that transit to occur. And it's jump on board or not. It's your choice. And you know that at some point or other you will leave this physical body that you're in here on this planet, and you are in very close proximity to this object at the moment. And you will be offered the opportunity to go there. Many of you may get to experience some difficult choices in the midst of that because of certain things that are going to be happening because of choices that you've made. Me too, all of us. No one gets out alive here. Nobody. Doesn't matter which side of the equation you're falling on and what's happening here. On a soul level, I can promise you it is a win-win-win situation. And what that means is the ego soul group, what you could call the invading soul group, is coming into the earth plane now. That's what's happening. And they have been given a certain amount of power, clearly, to do what they are here to do, but there is a line, and they are also being invited in. But there is a line of how far they can go. This will bring the soul group into this earth. Through us, humanity has always been the portal. It's not the earth is the portal, human state. That's why it's so precious. That's why everyone owns it. That's why greed is such a difficult aspect to get attached to, because it makes it so difficult for you to enter into this higher realm because of your needing to control and own and manipulate to your own end. It cannot be in its own beauty without you feeling you need it to jump for you. You need to own it, control it. Its beauty cannot exist without your involvement. Such is the nature of so much attachment that's been brought into you through this bogus currency, which has all just been a massive gun under the table, perpetual war that has kept this currency so powerful that you've believed in the value of your dollars and your everything else, and all of this comes into the spotlight of this passage. All of this. There is enormous karmic unraveling going to happen around this now, and no one knows which way it's going to go, because you do not know the severity of this. But I can promise you that humanity is not the enemy of this. You are not seen to be of sin or the original sin or anything within this. You're simply the conduit. You're simply the conjurer. And humanity has encoded within its genealogy at the moment wonderful lessons, wonderful lessons. And to attempt to splice that away, and to attempt to control that, and to play God within this equation, comes at a massive price. It comes at a massive price. But I promise you, your soul is safe. You are living in a massive, great transit from the end of one age to the beginning of a new age. And what divides that is a massive, great plasma bolt into Earth, which terminates the astral realm. For your soul, if you do not transit your realm, your realm has been transited, if you do not transit to that realm, then you will be back on Earth and you will start over. What is right for one is right for all. As with all of the rules to do with souls incarnating on this Earth, if one realm is going, all of the realms will go. They're not being destroyed. They're already, all your best is already. You know, you've been going back to that realm and looking at it for eons, whilst you've been here on Earth and polishing it and building it and developing it and making it better. And it exists on that big blue planet that is highly protected by the flanking objects and highly protected by levels of consciousness that are beyond anything you can comprehend. It's a big story, and everyone wants to come into this party, and ultimately through time they can, one way or another, those who want to come to this planet and experience what it has to offer. But once you're in, you're in. And if you're ever offered a way out, which many of you are now, don't forget, all of you are half imposter, half Martian invader, I'm afraid, and half Earth soul. Many of you much more Earth soul, and many of you overcame your ego eons ago, in the days of the Romans, thousands of years ago. You toy and play with it. 3 levels of evolution: the human level of evolution, the soul level of evolution, and the ego level of evolution. You know, and the whole massive story of the once Martians coming to Earth, bringing their oceans from Mars via the Emperor Hawaiian Seamount chain and on Earth, and Valles Marianas on Mars. The massive migration of water, the great flood, the arrival. Not that long ago. Not that long ago at all. Probably about 3,600 years. Probably just before the last major flyby. It was the fear of it. That because they knew they were so at war, they just had to escape their atrocity. They were so full of guilt because of what they've done and what was coming in. They used aggression and war to create such a low vibration that they blew a hole in the side of their world. They destroyed their world before the flyby even occurred, even though they drew it in or the same aspect with their low vibrational activities. The karmic equation always settles itself. Always. That is the karmic laws which you abided by when you entered into these third dimensional realms. They are bound by karmic laws that you cannot get round. Absolutely cannot get around. That was your agreement on entry. Yeah, you can play and bend these rules, but ultimately you're all up against it all the time, evolving. And sometimes you can evolve into whole new stratospheres of existence. And that's what this big blue realm is. It's your second Earth, operating all that is your best, offering you your highs, which you offer to the whole, is your contribution. And you will leave that and come here and embellish that more, just like as you've been coming here before, except that many of you have been going into the earth realms as your higher realm after your lives here, and embellishing that. And those worlds now merge with, you're given the opportunity to take the best of that. That was what I was told in Laughing Gas, that your earth will no longer support duality, and that it's time for ego to have a life of its own. And so they're being invited in, but they will have to know their place in this equation, and they may have forgotten, and they will have to tread very, very carefully at this time, because you stand to lose so much more. And if you can understand that this is a beautiful process, and that all souls go on the same journey these Martian beings have been on. These stories are massive. They transcend worlds. Worlds way before this earth. There are many, many bigger stories. This is a small story. Many souls have gone down the same cul-de-sac that the once Martians went down. This will be their first opportunity of coming back to a living being for a very, very long time, through the choices that many are making now. It's a big thing to see or perceive or to believe. It's beyond belief, all that is happening now. And when you're done here, on a high level, your soul on a high level, you have nothing to fear. Be of peace. They will tell you that you can do certain things, but remember these choices. Remember what you're becoming in these choices. These narratives are offered in to try and make you feel as if it's okay to have and say these heinous things sometimes. Don't buy into it. Don't let them bring you down by enabling you to believe that you can do heinous things in the name of your God. Be decent. Even if you find yourself forgetting how, because it seems the God inside of you is disappearing as the hope disappears, and the despair as you see this horrible thing happening. It is all meant to be. There is a line
And when they cross that line, they will know it. And that line is coming. And all should heed that. You have another overall, all of this, right up from Galileo to now, is all of this process leading to us, this object now coming from the northern aspect of our solar system into the southern. And you could see that whole elongated, even though there's 2 cycles within that whole process is the beginning of Planet X. And now this unfolds and goes out and takes us long to go out. And so we have the reverse of all that's happened playing out for another 300-400 years. It's this Earth is in a big story, and this is simply the beginning and the end of an 1800-year cycle. That's all this is. This Earth has seen many. You've just been offered the opportunity of coming here and filling your pockets with treasure. You've got nothing to fear, everything to gain. It's just a story. You've lived and died on this planet so many times. You've got nothing to fear. Believe it or not, you've filled your pockets. You've filled your pockets. You've filled your boots. All of you. You've all filled your boots. You're all invited into this high space. It's no different to the space that was there before, except that space merges now when you leave here. But understand, you will have to make your peaceful declaration on entering that. The world cannot jump to you, to your request. You do not own it. And if you cannot fulfill your contract, you'll just be sent back here, where you may flourish more and exist by this Earth's rules. And this Earth is going, these souls are coming in now, and it's going to be their turn, and there's going to be 1,000 years of not having any of these planets really. We go through the other cycle of this, not where even though we're kind of close to this object in another sense, it's right there, but it's much further from us in this aspect, until we get back to that kind of Galileo time, which won't be for a good sort of for us, that kind of Galileo time where it all started out, won't come now for probably after this, won't come for another 1,000 years. Even though we're going to go through the unwinding of this, which is going to take, probably 80 odd years, we're coming, even though we've got Flybys going on, we are coming out of this, and it will become, there's going to be a few little things here and there as warning shots that are going to help those, the new incarnates, to direct them a little bit and to give them assistance when things start going one way or the other. But this will be a grand clearing, and all of those who've got big weapons piled up ready for your big war, your big battle of 5 armies after the dragon has flown by. Look at your karmic history, look what you've done. Look at where that projects to. And look at what that stands against. But these souls will come in now. Those of you who are choosing that, they will come in through you. But you cannot take those that are not given. those that are not freely giving themselves. You cannot. And any country that listens to anyone and thinks you have the right to do that, you are at odds with this dragon. You are at utter odds with this great dragon. You will go under the wheels of it, just as Spain was invited to go under the mighty wheels of this in great force, and economically destroyed themselves. You have to be so careful what narrative you're following in this. You believe you have the right to do certain things. You can put a price tag on this and say you'll give someone £20,000 or dollars to do the most heinous crime on a human being. Something that might be utterly against their will, and told that you are legally allowed to do that. To hold them down and put your boot on their neck. And body snatch. I would say to you, be so careful. You have to remember that you want, if this goes sour, imagine it from this perspective. Imagine if this went sour and every being that had experienced this had problems down the line, and that in 100 years' time that lineage no longer existed, and this was your earth, and you were bound to this earth. You had come in as a soul on this earth, and then you had annihilated your vehicles to incarnate on this earth. So you could only exist as ghost on this earth. And the astral realms that you'd created, which might be quite limited because maybe you wouldn't have been here that long and had the opportunity to even fill those astral realms with all your best, which is what they fill with. They are tuned to high vibrational activity. They take your best, only your best. That's the gift of this earth. It offers recycling and it takes your best. You want beings to come and incarnate in. Many beings have come. As the Dalai Lama said, when they came in, they were raping, pillaging and stealing. If your body has chosen to affiliate with another being through whatever choices and however it's choosing to do that, my God that tells me, that gave me this message to invite you in, also says, if you don't want me, you don't have to have me. If you choose to pass over your body in this holy Passover, if you choose to, that is allowed. That is allowed. But understand it is a holy Passover. Anyone who invades a human on any other level, you face consequences. You are at war with humanity. You are at war. When this thing is flying by, you are the enemy of creation. You are the enemy of this world. Even though the narrative you may have been given is to bring us back to somehow carbon zero. if you are involved in that process directly. However, even if you are just paying someone else to do your dirty work, if you are within the lineage of that equation that runs against someone's will, you are at war with the beings of this planet, going against their free sovereign will to invade their God connection, their divine God connection. That goes directly against God's divine creation and will, however you choose to see it, to upset the natural order of your genealogy, to play God with your DNA, and to give another corporation gain of function. You have chosen that, and I can promise you that this was always going to happen. You were always going to potentially choose that. I know that sounds a bit of a contradiction, but you have to understand that there is nothing lost in this equation. If you have agreed to do this process, it was by contract that you are working with this, and you've just got to go through that now. Go with that. I promise you, if your soul is going to be separated from your being, your soul is being looked after. You are always going to leave at some point. If you choose to stay, it's not going to be easy, because people are going to change drastically around you. They're going to become different beings around you. The being that's come in has only been able to experience humanity through lower vibrational transmissions because of choices it made by going with this God in the first place, that took it to a place where it destroyed its existing world and it was ghosted. And then it was transmitted into our world, but it was only allowed to transmit through low vibration, not high. Only in anger and in hate and in all the aspects was it allowed to tune into humanity. That's been its only way. That's what is known for such a long time. That for it to enter into this equation now is it's going to be difficult, and so you're going to have a lot of tolerance, and you're going to have to show them a higher way. But the most important thing is that they come in first of all, and they're going to be coming in without being born into this world, without coming via a loving mother and father. It's not an invasion. It's not a possession. Well, it is a possession, but it's not really an invasion. It's to understand ultimately this is an invitation, and this always was an invitation to a dying world, really. And humanity's attraction to something shiny and wonderful, and this whole process, humanity wanted to take a massive evolutionary jump and have lots of new technology. And so we saw it as a big jump, but ultimately there's no shortcuts through this, and we paid a big price. We got invaded by this, really. It took us over, and we've had to learn to evolve it. And us standing up to that right now is part of our evolution. And if we are willing to stand up to it and invite the help that we have around us and make an effort to see where we really are within it and the story that's really going on right now, we may get more assistance than we can care to believe. It may be utterly beyond belief what is available to us now. But they are coming to a point where they may cross the line, and they are crossing the line. And as they do that, you will be required to invite the protection in that you want to get you through this. And you are invited to engage in seeing this. I've done everything in my power, and I know that so many people have watched the Flybys, but they just can't believe it. They just, because most people are so locked into an idea of a heliocentric model that they can't conceive the idea that something could have arrived next to us in 1859, back in the days of the Carrington event, the biggest event where every electrical thing, circuit board and everything melted. You know, the massive event that could have done huge, great damage already to the astral realms and changed the whole astral frequency of what was happening on our planet. It could have also been the arrival point of many souls onto this planet from the Planet X system. And there's going to be a lot of souls that are going to, doesn't mean they're not going to come back to Earth, but their place of residence, their soul place of residence is going to change. You're about to have a different soul address through this. But this is happening whether you like it or not. It's whether you want to make the migration. It's no different to any other migration. It just comes with a contractual understanding. And so many of you are, no doubt, because of processes and choices, are going to go through that now. Many of you are going to be pushed back into your astral realms and not understand really what's going on. And many of your astral realms, those of you who are being pushed into your astral realms, are more and more and are confused by what's happening around you and what is real and what is not real. It's a very, very big process that you're in, and there are two gods playing for you, and these gods don't fight each other. They have learnt to work with each other and have different agendas and different objectives, and they are also on their evolutionary paths, going about doing things the way in which they do things. And there are conflicts in interest, but there is the evolutionary process, and ultimately the universe aims to allow these evolutionary processes to play out, so all parties ultimately can experience themselves and come to a place of evolved decision making and understanding through experience. And this is an experience that you are safe from on a soul level. You've just got to trust in that. You've lived and died so many times on this earth, and this process and this story is we're just in different stories at the moment. And we have left Europe. And these are the consequences of leaving Europe. And I have to accept that what I was shown at the very beginning of this, that made me right laughing gas, was me being, my entire world being destroyed, me losing everything. And I couldn't let go of that because of the guilt that I had done, that I had within me, that I had made no effort, that I was of the illness that had brought this world to its knees, even though I had believed that I was its great medicine, that my judgments of this world were the great all-knowing answer, and that I had gone down this same road, down this plug hole, with the same zealous might as the worst, with total ignorance of what's really happening, that my big story on top of all of this was somehow I was good and right because of my beliefs in whatever, and that I had empowered it. And it tore me apart, and I was torn apart. I died on that day. Inside I died. I think that was a big part of my own astral realm being terminated here on Earth. And me being dependent, losing that, and feeling that I'd lost that, and me then being invited to go through a death experience and go through to this other realm where I charter in this book. You know, it's based on a true story, and so I'm going to re-release it. I don't know whether I'm going to call it God spotting or quite what I'm going to call it, but I've had a little bit of a change around just to try and bring you much more into the heart of the vision of what happened at the beginning, to make it a little bit more obtainable. Because I open in the hell realm. And in the Buddhist heavenly realms, of which the hell realm is one, the hell realm is the most productive of all, because it's the one you absolutely have to get out of, and that's why the hell realm is so powerful in the realms of samsara and the hungry ghost realms that invade this earth, that pull us into our different states of suffering. Even the heavenly realm, which is also a state in Buddhism of suffering, where you're like, I'm so happy, and you're kind of like happy and you're grooming your nails and that sort of stuff, and you're in the heavenly realm just as he lost it. And then you just look across and you see someone slightly with nicer nails and longer beautiful hair and more nicer beautiful more complexion and a bigger house and a nicer car and a nicer kind of boyfriend, girlfriend, kind of living on this more beautiful thing, and you're like, I want one of those, and suddenly you can't look at what you've got anymore. You can't see what you've got. You can't appreciate what you've got. You become obsessed by only what they've got and what you haven't got. And so begins the journey from the envy realm into the hungry ghost realm, which leads into the hell realm, which is the complete breakup. And then you come out of the hell realm and you come back into the animal realm, where you emerge from hell and you come back into just existing and staying alive without identity to any story or anything, just putting food in your mouth, managing to sleep and having no agenda, no existence, no functionality beyond basic existence. You're just pure survival. And then from there you develop order to that existence, where you come back into the human realm, where you are orderly. And in that orderly state, you suddenly find yourself going into the, oh, I'm so happy. And we slip back into the heavenly realm. And so around the cycle we go, and we can divert into any of these. And these are the realms of samsara, in which the astral realms were created on the fourth dimension, that feed into from the earth experience. But like I say, the very best are go into the fourth dimension. That's the bits you take. And they're the bits that ultimately get invaded. They're the bits that ultimately get invaded by, in this invasive process that's happening really much more in the fourth dimension, and invades our psychic realms when we're very young, through childhood trauma and different things. And of course that's
a big part of the agenda which is coming in, which seeks to bring in it into this realm, and to incarnate within other realms of the astral realm and take those realms that are associated with any individual human. And so it's a very convoluted story that's unfolding now, but to finish those realms and end those realms is a massive fear to the ego bases that have invaded some of those realms, those earth astral realms that are slowly morphing into these higher realms that get transferred to a higher space, and that are building a higher fifth dimension that this all goes into, that eventually, if you choose to, you go into. You know, it's not the end of your existence on Earth, it's just an evolutionary step. It's an invitation into a higher space that transcends any religion, that just needs peaceful intention to get there. Saying word, saying thought, exercise it in deed. And it grants you access to that space, and you will be bound by that contract, and you will be brought back to that contract at any time you are. And you will look at everything that is tied up to that contract. Your entire existence on this earth and all you have endured, everything is tied within that contract, because you understand that rule. It will be deemed that you've had enough experience on this planet to understand that rule. And that's what this is all about. So there's no fear in this. But you have your opportunity now to earn your stars and stripes for humanity. Now, you have an opportunity to wear a feather of peace in your hair, and adorn yourself with something that truly represents peace. You are going to die. You all know that. You're going to die. I know I'm going to die. I have nothing to fear. I always know I'm going to the other side. I've been lucky. I've gone through and transited. I am already, if you like, on the other side. I did that same transit, and I went through that same door, and I visited that space. I was invited to see it, but I had to go through the same door that everyone else has to go, and everyone will eventually leave here, will die, to get through to wherever they go beyond this space. You know that. You've got nothing to fear. This is about the massive migration of a world that died a long time ago, that is finally being given an opportunity to come back to the table of life. If this existing agenda played itself out to the full, that soul group that's going to enter here would never, ever actually properly enter. It would only be here to enter, to annihilate and destroy this world and turn this world into a ghost world. Ultimately, it would invade the higher realm by destroying humanity. You destroy the portal to which humanity, this high realm, is created. This invasion on Earth is an invasion. Invasion on humanity's genes is an invasion directly on heaven. These beings that come in, they are bound by the same agreements when you entered.
when you first entered into this system and you first arrived at the third dimension, you went through the same process, all the same processes. This is giving and receiving. This is the grand sharing. This is the grand passing over and passing on. If you've chosen to pass on, it was because you decided to do that before you came here. Your physical body will still stay here. Your highest aspect goes to its highest aspect if it chooses to. Your human state goes through the process it goes through. You'll just go through the experience of what it is. Many of you will forget who you were. You have no memory of that. But your highest aspect, your now, where you are now, the eyes that see and the being that you truly are, outside of your doubts. At the moment you're a duality, you're both beings. So you're like a rabbit stuck in the headlights of two beings, having a whole thought narrative which isn't you. When Mars was invaded and destroyed, those beings were left on Mars watching their own beings walk around them. They had own beings, had left their souls. The souls were left there with their own beings walking around them just like ghosts in their own worlds, blocked out of their own bodies. They'd had their souls cut off. There's no such thing as fiction. We only create fiction because we can't believe the truth that's happening right in front of us, right under our noses. This is an old story. It's been going on for a long time. It doesn't have to go through the same destructive process this time. If you allow this process to be and allow both to exist, I guarantee you, you will all be a lot more happy. You need to attempt coexistence in this. It is your only pathway through this, through coexistence. There is a possibility that a new level of you're going to need everything in the mix to make it through the next 1,000 years. The decisions that you make now, every right and wonderful decision you make here, picture what that will look like in 1,000 years. Try and picture it like that. Try and think of every nugget that you save, and you save by right action now. Project a light through that experience onto the wall of 1,000 years from now. Every right action is a lens unto itself. Every right action. And many of you have been... I'm not against what you've done. I promise you every decision that we're making here is the right decision that we were destined to make. Don't forget, if you went up and you chose that, you knew it was untested, you knew the risk you were taking, you knew all of it. Understand, I promise you, you made the right decision. But your humanity knows right from wrong. Do not let a narrative come into you that goes against that right and wrong narrative. Understand that the souls that are coming in will need healthy humans to incarnate in the future. You do not know what's going to happen as a result of what's happened already. You do not know what's going to happen because of choices that you've made. Remember, this is a karmic equation. Every choice you make now, you will have to experience. Many of you may be forced to make experience choices now on a soul level, which will pull you back into this realm on a soul level. They can trap your souls with choices you're making now. That's why your soul will choose to leave and let. When your soul chooses to leave rather than risk taking that risk, it offers an exchange. It offers, it's everything. It has, anything that goes against the gradient of what is right for one is right for the all, comes at a negotiated equation. If you choose to pass over, if your soul chooses to give, this is not an invasion, this is a gift. If your soul chooses on a higher level to pass over your humanity because your humanity does not want that soul anymore, it affiliates only with the ego agenda. This is not a bad choice. This is not a good choice. This is a karmic choice, but only if that agenda chooses karmically. Whoever's here, your humanity will have to live and die with the choices. Ultimately, your humanity and that soul which is connected with you will carry that and be with you to the bitter end. Your ego just phases out when you make bad choices. It just chooses not to be present because it is not here. It doesn't want to be there. It's not attached to that, but your soul is. Your soul has got to experience all of the woes of the choices that your humanity makes. Sometimes it sits on a tree in the distance and it cannot barely be a part of it because it's so painful, the choices you make. So it is distant from you, but it is always there with you. And sometimes you invite your soul right in. But it is always there. But if you don't want that, you don't have to be there. And it's not a bad choice that you've affiliated with. This is not evil as you've been led to understand. But this soul and that which you tune to, there was a new affiliation. And your affiliations right now depend on how that equation unfolds. And if you give yourself early, you also offer an exchange. You offer your life to another soul. The exchanges you offer all of your karma in this life. That's the exchange. Nothing for nothing. Come on, guys, it's only fair and right. So many of you are going to get out of this. In a sec. Not karmically free because you offer something in exchange. So it's not like you're getting, if you leave before your time and let go of that karma, you are putting one hell of a collateral on the table. That's a big all in on a soul level because you're offering your life peacefully. You were led into it through belief systems. You were programmed into it. You could have gone either way, but you chose one way just because. It's okay. It's okay. It's all okay. But now it's about saving humanity. And in saving humanity you can save this earth. Now, it means all sides to be strong. Accept the things the way they are. There's some things you can change, and there's some things that you cannot change now. But we are all leaving. You are all part of an amazing process. There's a massive after party on both sides of this equation. This is normal for this earth to go through this. But it's the shutting down of a psychic realm. This is just a little subtle reminder of the players in the game. This Flyby, but it's not the biggest. But it is a wake-up call. So this will be a big earthquake now. And the Flyby, it looks like it's coming in. It could be tsunami. Let's face it, it could be. Much more likely to be asteroid though, at this point. And where would that asteroid land? What's driving this current agenda? Where would this thing be pointing to? Where's this all coming from that attacks this planet right now? That's where this is going. And it's all perfect. Even though it seems so disastrous, but there's so much on the table now that can make the next 1,000 years amazing. Or really not amazing at all. So much power is in all of your hands. All of your hands. The individual choices you make now. This is where you, on a soul level, incarnating here by the choices you make in conjunction with working with your humanity. I was going to say, as the architecture of the world you go to, but it's the architecture of your being, of who you are, of the stars and the stripes, the gleaming, true you on the other side is all that you manifest here, nothing more. You can't go over there and be anything more than you can be here. It doesn't work like that. But you are all invited. You've all built it. You're all part of it. You will all embellish it and make it better and more beautiful by your lives that you come back here to Earth. But you will be coming back here from a different equation, from a different perspective. You will take your place amongst the guides and the workers, the caretakers of this realm. Many of you are indebted to this realm in ways that it will take you eons of lives to come from another perspective and incarnate on this earth as a helper in service. You will learn to be angels, literally angels, working with the angels, looking beyond any religion, working in a network of love, benevolence, and aiding towards the eternal technique, which is peace. Slowly helping everything to evolve to a place of equality. And fairness, right action. No one's coming in invading us from another perspective. No one would dare. The powers that be that run this earth are very powerful. Powers that can come in and invite you to break those cardinal rules of decency that throw you under the karmic wheels of this, but all of it is your choice. You have to follow your heart, what is right and wrong in this, and go with this. There are no mistakes. Everything is perfect in this. But you must respect that everyone has the right to choose. And if you decide to inflict your choices on their God-given rights, their inalienable rights, to divinely connect to their true Godhead, you go against that. You go against that Godhead. And that's a scary place to be. That's a scary place to be. Big story unfolding now, big flyby coming in. Buckle up, kids. It's going to be fun. It's just going to be an adventure. Just do the best you can. Be the best human. Just go on, guys. It's going to be scary. Stock up on everything. You know it's coming in. You know how big it's going to be. Love you so much. Take care.